What is your career dilemma? That's the question we address each week right here on That Career Dilemma program. I'm Paul Madsen, host of the program, and I am very excited because this is already episode number 41. We've reached 41 concurrent episodes each week. Not bad, huh, Cyrus?
Wow, that's incredible. Who's the show for, Paul?
Thank you for asking, Cyrus. Who's the show for? Well done. Cyrus, the show is for anybody who wants to sell themselves better. And who does that mean? Well, that means people like those in job and career transitions, looking for a better job, people interested in starting a small business, people who have started a small business and want to promote it a little bit more, anybody who wants to get out there and promote themselves. And you know how I do that? How I teach people to do that?
How do you do that?
I do that because I have people like you on the show. In other words, I have great guests each week, all 41 weeks, who come in and help advise and support and motivate and inspire our viewing audience, which is growing, into getting where they want to be on their career advancement story. So that's what we're all about. And I'm excited more so than just the fact that we hit 41 right here because of my guest. Cyrus is a friend and a business associate, and he runs Cyrus Jaffrey agency, insurance agency, and it's not just any insurance agency. I'm going to let him tell his story because he'll do it better than I am right now. But the point is that he is a startup. He is an entrepreneur, and he has made things happen in a short period of time that I think all of us can learn and benefit from. So welcome to the program, Cyrus.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me here at your agency. Beautiful location here with several employees. A hub of activity is what I'm getting.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about your background, Cyrus.
Okay, personal?
Sure.
Cool.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, hey, my name is Cyrus Jaffrey, and I'm originally from Afghanistan. We moved here when I was 14 years old.
14, okay.
Yep, so left Afghanistan when I was 2, moved to Pakistan. We were refugees, and obviously there was a war and stuff like that in Afghanistan, so we had to get out of there. Went to Pakistan to make sure we better our lives, and it was easier to escape there. Single mom was there for about 12 years. And then we had an opportunity as refugees to come to the United States, which was awesome. So moved here when I was 14 years old.
A lot of changes. That's a lot of adversity, I should say, that people around here don't even dream of, right?
Yeah, it's crazy that I guess I don't really kind of remember when I was young, and I guess when you're that young, you really don't know what you're going through.
That's probably true. It's your only frame of reference, right?
That's all you know. So, but now looking back, you're like, oh wow, like that's kind of cool because it's like a movie, right?
It's a little different story than most of us have. I grew up in a small town up north, and I had a pretty idyllic, normal, boring American childhood, and just the things that some other people in the world go through, I think a lot of us don't understand, don't appreciate sometimes. So landed out in Colorado, I understand.
Yep. So Denver, Colorado. We were there went high school there for a year, Wheat Ridge High School, and my aunt lived in Nebraska at this point, and she moved to Denver to kind of be close to us. We didn't know anybody, and we were kind of alone. And my mom. And then a single mom, and then 5 kids, everybody under 15, 16 years old. So with no English, nothing. My mom didn't know any English, so it's kind of tough. So my aunt moved there to help us out a little bit, kind of get us up and running. And
you came to Omaha at that point, yeah?
Right.
So you finished up high school in Omaha?
Right. Yep.
Okay.
So she moved to Denver, and then she didn't like Denver as much. Okay. And she said, "You guys should just move to Nebraska. Okay. It's cheaper to live
the good
here.
life, man.
To the good life, great education, and all that stuff." So moved to Nebraska when I was 14. We were only there for a little bit, and then this is where I went to Miller North High School. And then after Miller North High School, went to Nebraska
Mustangs.
Westland.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Went to Nebraska Westland. I understand there's a little soccer involved or something
Absolutely.
like that, little sports.
So when I moved here, it was my freshman year of high school, 1 semester in Colorado. Moved here my second semester. We really somebody said, hey, like there's soccer tryouts, you should go try out. So
Did you play soccer in high school?
My dad was a big fan of soccer, so I was like, it'd be cool.
Yeah.
I played in high school. Yep. Okay. So that's when I said, okay, I'll go try out.
Sure. Okay.
Didn't know anything about soccer, honestly, so didn't know what offsides was. My first game, I was offside like eight times.
They didn't pull you out.
I
huh?
couldn't figure out the concept of,
Right.
okay, you got to be behind the defender. You can't be behind the defender closer to the goal.
And that's interesting. You must have been a great athlete because nowadays in Nebraska, I mean, you look around, you got kids starting at age 3, and it's fun to watch the pack run around the ball.
Absolutely.
But I mean, they get a real head start.
Yeah.
And so you came in late, and yet
Yeah.
you mastered it and tried
Yep.
out at for the college team then, right?
Yep. So got a lot of scholarships. Really got into soccer, right? So
Right.
I didn't know anything else, man. I didn't have any friends. I didn't have anything to
Sure.
do. So soccer was one of my escapes. So from my house and from everything that I was
Sure.
going through. So I really
Locked
really
on,
wanted
right?
to
Yeah.
make sure that I give it all. You
Yeah.
know? So I practiced 4 or 5 hours a
Wow.
day.
Wow.
And I got okay at it, right? So I got a lot of scholarships
Sure.
my senior year. And junior year, I got a scholarship from Creighton, got a scholarship from Stanford,
Wow.
St.
Okay.
Louis, and,
Wow. And
so
you
really good schools,
You
but
choose to be close to home then.
close to home. You know, mom is here. I just wanted to be 45 minutes away, but I
Sure.
wanted to be away.
Yeah.
Away, but not
Can't drop
not
in
too
and
far.
for dinner, but
Yep,
you can
yep.
still need close
So-
enough when you need them.
So enough, and I really liked Westland. You know, the
Sure.
coaches and everything was going to help
Good.
me out. Yeah.
What was
so that's
your
where I went.
what was your major and what at school there?
Yeah, so major was, I was from Afghanistan, where my mom and dad are like, you got to be a doctor, right? Because Indians, Pakistanis, and Afghanis, I mean, they want them to be a doctor.
You're a success in
That's all
America
they
if you're being a doctor.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I went to biology class, and I was like, okay, this is the worst thing I've ever had to do. Just not for me, right? So I was like, okay, Mom, I'm not going to do it. She goes, okay, well, become a lawyer, right? 'Cause that's
Yeah,
the
second
thing they
choice,
do.
right.
Second choice. That's when I said, okay, that might be all right. So I took some political science. That was my
Right,
degree,
right.
Because that's
Okay.
a way to kind of get into law school.
Sure.
And then I went and took the LSAT and everything, and I wasn't smart enough
Well, I don't know about that,
to
but-
do any of the law stuff.
I hear it does weed a few folks out. Yes,
That's right, and it's
yeah.
not for everyone.
No,
I think that's the one
no,
thing that people
no.
don't understand is you just got to figure out what you're really good at or what you were passionate for, and
Sure.
you kind of have to go for it.
And
those
how
two
did you
weren't
do
for me.
that? How did you narrow that down? that
Yeah,
funnel?
so after I coached Lincoln Southwest High School soccer. I was the
Mm-hmm.
JV head coach, and one of the parents was a State Farm employee, and he's like, Cyrus, once you graduate college, and I was my senior year,
Mm-hmm.
you should try State Farm. We were looking for people like you,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, great, and I'll give it a shot. So that's how I kind of
They got their recruit into you early, and you're just a budding young college kid, and you were open to all
Yeah.
things. It sounded like. I mean, some people
At
have a
that point.
bias against, I don't want to sell insurance,
Yep.
but I just think that's hilarious when I
Yep.
look at what you've done and such. And
Yep.
so you started with that company, and what was some of your early days like, or where
Yeah.
did you're an employee, you're a independent agent, or how does that all work?
So State Farm. So I was 21 at this point. You have to remember, right?
A
So
ripe old 21.
and State Farm gives you a book of business, and they don't.
Oh, they
want
do?
You,
Okay.
Yep. So they do their. I mean, they go through extensive background check. They go through
Sure.
extensive making sure that you're the right fit for State Farm.
Right,
So
right.
and they have to
Personality
do that 'cause
profiles and all that
everything.
stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
right.
How are you going to be able to handle a book of business?
Sure.
How are you going to be handling your employees and
Uh-huh.
clients and everything? So and I wasn't ready at that point.
Right.
So State Farm said, okay, why don't you kind of go into a different direction for this one? Because we don't think you're ready. And I'm glad they did that because I don't think I was ready. So
Reminds me of a comedian I saw. I can't remember his name right now. He wrote a whole book about it. I wish I could remember his name, but he's been on various news programs talking about it. He talks about when he was younger, I think late teenager maybe,
Yeah.
how he applied at Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And they turned him down,
Yeah.
and they said, "You're not Taco Bell material."
Yeah.
And he wrote a book called "Not Taco Bell
Oh,
Material."
God, that's funny.
But now he's this famous
Yeah.
comedian or whatever, presuming
Yeah.
making a little bit above Taco Bell money,
That's-
maybe. But
a little bit more.
At any rate, so you bounced out of that,
Yeah.
and what'd you land in then?
Again, going back to adversity, I mean, I've done that in the past, and we've gone through a lot of adversity in the past, and I was like, okay, what are you going to do? I mean, you're just going to have to go give something else a shot. So that's where I tried Wells Fargo. A bunch of my cousins and uncles were Wells Fargo employees, and they really liked Wells Fargo. And the other part of it was, I was like, who do I want to work for? Somebody. I was like, I got to work for somebody that maybe does a lot of advertising, right? So anytime I watch TV, here's State Farm. Anytime I watch TV, here's Wells Fargo, right?
Right,
Because
right.
they're just big brands. I
Sure,
was like, it'd
they've
be
got
easier.
stores on every corner, all these companies. Yeah,
Right, so
yeah.
I was like, it'd be easier. I know people. I'd be able to kind of do that thing. So, so I said, I'll go to Wells Fargo for a little bit. So that's when I went to Wells Fargo for about 4 years. I started kind of in the bottom as a customer service rep and
Customer,
moved all
okay.
the way to
Customer service rep,
a
yeah.
mortgage officer.
Typical new grad type of position.
Yep,
They
yep.
learn the business and
Right about a teller, and then the cool thing about Wells Fargo is they teach you how to kind of keep climbing the stairs,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
keep growing and keep
they
getting
want to
better.
grow
and
their own
they'll
internal
keep-
talent, right? Okay.
They'll keep you going.
Sure,
So,
sure. And what were the positions? What did you
Yeah.
end up there as?
So, see,
What was your
so-
last position there?
customer service rep first, and then you go into personal banker 1, then personal banker 2, and then I was a mortgage officer doing home loans
Okay.
for clients. at that
Surrounding a
point.
lot of that personal finance with people's personal finance. And
Absolutely,
getting
dealing
your
with
learning
all
how
that.
that all worked and dealing with the public and things like that.
Yep.
Sort of setting
Yep.
the stage for your next thing, right?
It was great. So at this point, I met my wife.
Okay, okay. That'll like
and
change
then
your life, yeah.
That will change. At this point, I met my wife. I was a mortgage officer, and then her dad's a State Farm agent.
Okay.
So right when that kind of happened, I was like, State Farm. Okay, I've been through this road
Yeah,
before.
yeah. I've heard of these guys, right?
Yep. So I gave it another shot at that point. And then the second time is when I got the opportunity with State Farm.
I see. And what you're climbing the ladder, corporate guy, cubicle, customer service, etc. All the typical corporate things.
Yep.
Did that for what, 4 years? You said.
4 years.
What made you decide that I don't want to be in this big monstrous corporation anymore?
Yep.
Versus kind of being my own man with an insurance career.
Yeah.
What was your thought process to make that transition? We have viewers who are in
Yeah.
those kinds of career transitions, either formerly cubicle people or wish they were cubicle people and need to
absolutely.
think about,
Absolutely.
learn from other people how they made those transitions.
Yeah, so corporate America, I mean, it's got its benefits, right? So, but also at the same time, it's got its disadvantages as well. So, for me, it was I wanted to make sure I write my own chapter, and it's up to me. So that was something that intrigued me because I was like, if it's up to me to make it as big as I want as an insurance agent, then I'm gonna kind of give that a shot and see how far I can go.
Pretty tough when you're in a crowded room of good talent.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
and have some of those constraints. I mean, your insurance agency has rules and procedures, obviously,
Absolutely.
too.
Especially State Farm.
Yeah, but you're still encouraged to be your own person.
Your own person. The cool thing about State Farm is they give you this opportunity and they say, Cyrus, you can make it as big as you want, you can make it as small as you want, you can make it as it's up to you.
Yeah.
The income is up to you. Anything that you want to do with State Farm is up to you. And it was really intriguing.
That appealed to you a lot.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
I think a lot of, I'm interpreting here, but a lot of what you've been through in your life, the adversity, the strengthening that you got,
Yeah.
I think you had the will and the guts, so to speak, to try. I mean, with an insurance agency, you're not exactly on your own,
Yeah.
but you still are a
Yeah.
lot on your own.
It's-
It's still up to you, right?
It's all you. You run the show. It's a boat, and you're the main guy. And if you steer it the wrong way, you
Sure.
know it's gonna drown. So
Sure. Well,
it's
tell us
got-
about the agency. I mean,
Yeah.
you started how long ago with
So started August of 2014, but was with State Farm since 2013. So almost 5 years with
Okay.
State Farm.
Right.
But they give you a whole year of training, which is incredible.
That's
because
amazing. Yeah.
They want to make sure they put the right people in the right place. And as you know, State Farm agents, they don't retire. They don't leave State Farm. Because I don't know one State Farm agent that has left, so
That's
just
crazy.
to go
Yeah.
to a different opportunity. So I knew the opportunity was great. I saw my father-in-law, who has done incredible for the last 28 years. And I was like, I'm going to be as successful as my father-in-law. That was kind of my
Your goal.
my,
You
my
had a
pinnacle
model,
I gotta
role
reach.
model,
I
right?
had a role model, get some help from them.
You took the first year
Yep.
of training, and that's
First year training.
you're working hand in glove with another agent
Yep,
or other
yep.
agents.
Going
and-
to Minneapolis, over in Minnesota for training for about 5-6
Wow.
months.
Wow.
Every week for a full week. So it was really cool because you kind of learn how to run a State Farm agency, how to do everything, how to manage a team, how to be successful. So
Yeah.
after we got done with that, then I started August of 2014.
On your own.
So on my own. Yep.
And
so
what,
started.
was that in a closet somewhere, or I mean, tell
Yeah.
us about your humble beginnings.
Yeah, so Cyrus Jaffrey Insurance Agency started August 2014 on 90th and Maple. We had about 1,100 square feet, and I started with 3 people, with one of them being my 4 people, one of them being my wife. My wife worked for me for a little bit.
Okay.
So that's how we
And
started.
were the other people admin or agents as well, or what?
Hey, great question. So State Farm model, you have an agent, and then everybody that works for you are your team members, right? So they're insurance agents as well, but they work for you, not State Farm, because we're independent contractors for State
Okay.
Farm. So they work for me. They write business for me. So one of them was just taking care of our clients because we took over a book of
Oh,
business.
you already took a, yeah.
And, yep.
So you didn't start from scratch. You were, the company helps you get launched with the book of business.
Correct.
So there's no incentive to them to throw a whole bunch of agents out there and see them fail.
Correct.
You know, and so they give you
They
a
don't do that.
startup launch, and then it's up to you to build on that. So
Yep.
you built on that well, from what I have seen around here. Your
Yep.
lovely agency. Your current staff is how many?
So right now I have 10 staff.
10 staff.
Yep. So
In
we
4 years,
in about
or less than 4 years, 3.5
three
years.
and a half, 3.5, 4 years. We went from 3 staff. My wife, she did not like insurance.
Did you fire her? No,
I don't.
she fired you.
I think she fired me. So she stopped working. She's in a different field at this point. But she left me right away. So we were stuck with 3 people.
She left the business right away.
She left the business right away. So yeah, it's hard to work with your significant
No, I understand.
others.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. And now you're up to 10 people. Well, that's a terrific story. And in less than 4 years, Cyrus went out basically on his own with the umbrella of a major company's insurance behind him, and now he's up to 10 agents and 10 employees in his office in a very, very competitive marketplace.
Very competitive.
Well, we're going to talk more about that right after this break. A word from one of our sponsors. On Q Marketing is a place where you can go to help get found on a Google search. Jeff over there at On Q Marketing will help take care of you and get you. Who doesn't want to get found on a Google search,
You
right?
need to be found.
Pretty important. So Jeff does that SEO for you, maybe some marketing videos as well. Also, a quick little plug for me. I've got several metropolitan community courses. Let's try that again. Metropolitan Community College non-credit courses coming up. I do seminars all year round for them on various how to sell you, side income for teachers, profit and grow from what you know,
Cool.
pitch rich niche, all of those different kinds of things about how to use your potential and get out there and go. You
That's
should
awesome.
come teach that with me. You'd be great.
Yeah.
You've got a story to tell. So you look at the graphics at the end of the video, and you'll see how to sign up for those or learn more about those as well on the website. So that's a couple of things going on that I wanted to mention. Now I want to get back to the part of the program where people, if you are in a situation where you need some kind of transition, maybe you need a new job. Maybe you need a better job. Maybe you need a job. Maybe you need to start a sole proprietorship, a solopreneur thing, a simple gig thing on the side. I talk about Susan, who's a 43-year-old soccer mom, but she's working 50 hours a week for her company and doing all the night stuff and just, burning out because there's just so much going on. Well, what can she do to maybe start something on the side so she has some hope down the road that it's not always going to be like this.
Sure.
And so that's the kind of person we talk to sometimes, or a person, maybe a 59-year-old male who's been working in corporate America for 30 years and laid off, fired, downsized, whatever, and someone who, what do I do next?
Yeah.
And can't get a job out there because it's tough for someone over whatever age to sometimes get a job in this fast-changing market. So those are the kind of things we talk about. So Cyrus, I mean, you told us that, I guess what appealed to you about leaving the Wells Fargo thing to go into insurance was the self-determinism.
Correct.
And talk a little about that. How do people recognize that in themselves? Who should recognize that? How do they recognize that? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's a great question.
We could only talk for 2 hours on that.
Yeah, we could potentially talk for a long time on that. I think it's different for everybody, but one thing I can tell you is if you have the opportunity if we give you the gig and we say you go make it as big as you want, but at the same time it's very hard because you could fail, right? So there's a lot of insurance agencies, maybe not with State Farm, maybe with State Farm, they try this opportunity, but it's a very tough market, and then they gave up within the first year or two, right? So, but I think I would put my bet on anybody if it's up to you to go ahead and make it where you want to make it.
So
So,
you need that mentality. I think I hear you saying that, talking about, be your own person.
Correct.
And that's good advice because, some people say, I want to get a job, or
Yeah.
9 to 5, or 8 to 5, or
Yeah.
5 to 9, or whatever, and have the security of a big company.
And
Does that exist anymore?
you know what? That's the one thing. I talk to a lot of my friends. They're like, "Well, I'm in this corporate job, and I'm making really good money. I'm paying my bills, but at the
Got a
end of
nice
it,
car,
got a
got a
really
nice house now, and
absolutely
I'm making X dollars.
absolutely. But I don't want to sacrifice the next 2 years of making less money to have a beautiful life after, or a better life
Right.
after for
Right.
your family. And I think that's the toughest decision that people make anywhere in the world, is giving up 2 or 3 years of your life to make it better after 3 years. But I would put my money on a lot of people that if they had the opportunity to go ahead and work as hard as you want. That's what I got. We didn't make a ton of money when I first started, and I had to put a lot of money into the business. But I knew that if I do that and I do it right, and I had the confidence in myself, that if I do it for 2 to 3 years and really go at it, put in the hours that it needs to be, that I know for a fact that 4 to 5 years later, we're going to be in a way better situation than we were at with Wells Fargo or any other corporate job.
And
that
it's
you
about
had.
that deferred gratification, isn't it? And we as Americans don't like that, don't
We need
understand
it
that.
now.
Yeah, we want it
We
now.
need
I
it now.
got my degree, I
We
got
need
my
it now.
background, I got my experience.
Yeah.
I deserve that job. I want that, X dollars out of college, or
Yeah.
I've been in corporate America for 40, or for
Yeah.
age 40, and I need to,
Yeah.
I've become accustomed to XYZ style of living.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you see all
It's
sorts of
hard.
stories of your customers, don't you?
We see it from
But
our
what
customers.
happens when what happens? They, the layoffs, the cuts, the changes, the economy is changing.
It
It's
is
no longer where you go to work for somewhere for 40 years and
Yeah.
have that security anymore, is it?
It's tough. It's tough. It's tough for a lot of the corporate America people, because honestly, what I think is, and this is just my opinion, corporate America and big companies are always going to have their own back, right? So they want to make sure they're successful. They want to make sure they're making enough money, and they want to make sure their executives are going to be making money.
Right.
So honestly, to an employee, you're just a number. That's how I feel.
Well,
so
and-
at some point, that number is going to be replaced by a number that just got out of college. That's willing to take.
They can
less
hire
money.
2 people for the price of
two
that you
people.
are.
And they're gonna
granted,
work-
you'll lose all that institutional knowledge, but
Absolutely.
in today's information society, people can pick up and gain that. And so,
Anytime. Absolutely.
Susan, who's 43, and
Yep.
she loves her corporate job except for the hours
Yep.
and the stress and,
Yeah.
and this and that and that,
Yeah.
the politics and
Yeah.
whatever, that could all go away. And so I think
Absolutely.
people have to have the same mentality as you in order
Absolutely.
to, what would I do if, or
Yep.
what should I do to get
Yep.
here?
There-
Susan's only 43 years old.
Yeah.
She's probably going to work another 25, 30 years.
She has to.
Yeah, that's
She
a
has
good
to.
point. Yes,
Uh,
and so what should she do? What kind of thinking can she do to have a side gig, or to any advice or thoughts about
I
that?
think outside the box. I think you watch shows like Shark Tank. You watch other shows that you watch on TV. That small idea that turns into a
Yeah,
billion, a
yeah.
$1 billion company,
Sure.
right? But somebody in Susan's position, right, was thinking about this idea,
Yeah.
but she just didn't pull the trigger.
Yeah.
She
Oh,
was
I've
too
seen that,
scared,
yeah.
Right? So I think I encourage a lot of people to see. I think you got to think 2 or 3 years ahead of yourself to say what's going to happen in 2 or 3 years. And
Right.
if you think about failing, then you're probably gonna fail. But I think you
Right.
just gotta understand that if you fail, so what? You gotta get up and go back at it again.
And see, you did that. You thought, 2 or 3 years down the road. You said,
Yep.
yes, I'm going to have a price to pay
Yep.
right now. I'm
Yep.
going to eat some beans in the
Yeah,
meantime.
in the meantime.
And
Freshman in college again.
Yeah, ramen noodles, right?
Yep,
and
yep.
and that's a good time to do it when you're young. But there's a message here for older people. Let's say, John is in his 50s and,
Yeah.
and he got cut after many years in
Yep.
corporate America. What kind of strategies do you ever see? What challenges do the more mature worker, what do they have to overcome, do you think, to think about a
Sure.
side business or launching something?
Absolutely. I think going back to the instant gratification, because obviously if you're in your 40s,
Well, I'm saying John lost his job. He's got nothing nothing. He's
Nothing.
not
He's
giving
gotta
up his
think.
job
Sure,
to do this.
sure.
He's got to get something going. He's having a hard time.
Absolutely.
You know, we've had those people on the show.
Absolutely.
People who have a hard, they've got nothing to lose because they got to get an income stream going.
Yeah.
And any advice for someone in that
Sure,
situation?
sure, and and that's a tough situation because obviously at this point you have a mortgage, you have car payments, you have some young kids that are still in the house, so
Or
it's
college
really
or something,
or college or
yeah.
something, and they really need the income right away, and that's where I was going. The
It's
instant
tough, yeah,
gratification they need
yeah.
it now, so it's
Yeah.
easier for them to just go into a corporate job,
Mm-hmm.
go make a little bit of money right away to kind of keep paying the bills.
But it's hard to get those sometimes at the older ages. And we
That's
see
true.
that all the time. I've
Yeah.
got 30 years of recruiting, staffing, placing, HR business experience,
Yeah.
and I tell you stories all day,
Yeah.
about that. And me too.
Yeah.
I've been, in that age group, and I've been laid off, been fired, and
Yeah.
now I'm doing my own independent
Yeah.
thing. So.
I think learn from you.
Yeah,
What made you do it, right?
Well,
So I
yeah,
mean,
and that's kind of a good summary point because
Yeah.
I agree with you on so many things. And let's kind of wrap it up with
Yeah.
some of that. I mean, we're talking with Cyrus, and Cyrus went through the corporate America drill for about 4 years, and then used his background of adversity, I think, and built on that in order to get out there. He always had that urge to be his own person, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
that going through the adversity that you had
Yeah.
made it so you weren't totally afraid of that.
Absolutely.
And he was able to delay his instant gratification. He was going down the route of a lot of his friends who have the nice car,
Yeah.
and but he said, if I don't have a nice car right now,
It's
I
okay.
mean, an even nicer car in 3 or
Later
4
on.
years down
Yeah.
the road. And
Yeah.
in 4 years down the road, he's got 10 employees. So
Yeah.
pretty good story.
Absolutely.
So Cyrus talking about being your own person,
Yeah.
paying that price, delayed gratification. I think planning ahead is a lot of it. Starting something on the side. There's a podcast I listen to all the time called the Side Hustle School. Yeah.
Yeah.
With Nick Loper, and you can get it on Stitcher or iTunes, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting about people who started their own side business.
Yeah, sure.
So the Susans and the Bobs and the Johns of the
Yeah.
world can maybe get something like that going while they look for a job
While they
or
look for a job,
something. I mean,
Or even if they have a job, they can
Exactly.
have a side
Absolutely.
gig, and that
Absolutely.
could turn into the main job after a while.
and that's the
right?
whole point of the
Yeah,
whole thing. I think we
sure.
just now need to be open-minded and see where
Absolutely.
this can all go, not locked into one thing. And you hit
Yeah.
it. You said, think outside that box.
You have to in this society because I mean everything is competitive at this point, right? So, what makes my office different than an insurance agent that's got one employee and then just taking calls, right? So we thought outside the box. We said we're going to bring more people in here and we're going to make sure that we're going to treat everybody like they're MVPs. But for that to happen, we have to have enough staff here to be able to answer the phone. Phones are not going to voicemail.
That's really a good point. I was going to ask you what do you attribute your success of being able to be up to 10 employees?
Yep.
And not only you've even spun off people into their own agencies, haven't you?
Yep, absolutely. So recently we've had 2 of them now.
Two now,
So
okay.
yep. So
Wow.
that had the opportunity to become their own agents. So, and that's the same thing with going back to our story. It was Doug, for example. He came to me and he comes from automotive industry, and he said, "Hey, listen, I want to be like you." I said, "Okay, well, let's pay for the first 2 to 3 years, right?
Yep.
Let's come into me, learn from me
Sure.
for a couple of years, make a little bit less money than
Yeah.
what you're making,
Right.
but you know that in 4 or 5 years from now, you're going to be in a way better position."
Well, it's the same thing as people going to college. You go to college, you
Absolutely.
incur the debt, the cost, the time, the effort, 4, 5, 6 years,
Yeah.
and you get out thinking, I'm
Yeah.
going to make an entry level wage.
Yeah.
Well, this is the same kind of thing. Where,
Absolutely.
think about yourself going back to college without the college
Yeah.
part, right? That's what we're
Absolutely.
talking about.
Absolutely.
Well, again, back to the question: what makes Cyrus Jaffe Agency successful? Makes it differentiates it from
Yep.
other insurance providers out there?
So one thing I've learned is to read and to learn from other people. No matter how successful you are, if you're not educating yourself every day, if you're not learning something new every day, you're always going to be in that stagnant position, right? And I wanted to make sure that I'm not in that stagnant position. So I was reaching out to other agents that have been very successful, other insurance agents from different companies,
Learning from
and then,
mentors,
and then and then reading books and stuff like that to figure out a way to be different. And obviously I figured it out. I said, if we could get more people in here to be able to handle our clients at a different level than some of the other insurance agents do it, then that's going to make us different.
Well,
How do you answer the phone?
yeah.
How do you close on the phone? How do you thank them for their business? Are we sending them a card to say thank you for for being with us, or we send them because their daughter is sick, and just doing little
Beautiful,
things
yeah.
to differentiate ourselves from other insurance agencies.
Well, and that's it, and it comes at a cost when you have a staff like that, of
Absolutely.
course. But I think the cost, and I'm a personal story. I mean, I happened to be in the insurance marketing or shopping business situation, and came across Cyrus and got 100% customer satisfaction and service, and felt very cared for, and you don't get that
Yeah,
everywhere else.
you
And so
don't.
it
You
wasn't an
don't.
online quote, it wasn't a voicemail,
Yep.
it wasn't impersonal. If there was an email, it's right away back, and
Sure.
those things differentiate. And again, Cyrus is paying it forward, paying the cost of investing all that infrastructure, yet it's coming back to you.
It's coming back to you at this, absolutely. So payroll is tough, you're right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we know what our vision
It's
is,
an
right?
investment
So
because your vision, right?
even 3.5 years, 4 years in, now I'm thinking 7 years, what's the next, right? So I'm always thinking ahead, and I think
Yeah.
if we don't think ahead and have a big goal, big plan, you might just stay at that same stagnant level.
Well, again, to wrap up, where we could talk all day, we're going long here, but Cyrus's summary points: put your adversity to work for you. Put your tough cap on, right, and be your own person. Think in that kind of terminology as far as what can no one else is watching out for me, right?
Yeah,
I better watch out for
absolutely.
myself. Paying the price, don't be afraid to. Don't be afraid, whether that's something on the side
Absolutely.
or full time or whatever you need to do. Just have that self-confidence. Always plan for down the road, what's coming up next as far as down the road, use mentors and keep learning and things like that. And, like they say, start small, but start, right? I mean, don't analyze it to death.
Absolutely.
I had a gentleman at one of my classes. He took fantastic notes, seemed very engaged in all the things we were doing, the worksheets and stuff. And then it came time for me to kind of ask them what they're going to do next. What 3 things they're going to do next to act on this.
Yep,
Nothing happens unless you act.
Absolutely.
And he shut everything down. And he was done. He just wanted to learn. He
Yeah.
wanted the research. He wanted to study. Doesn't want to take that that paralysis by analysis. Cyrus, how do people reach you?
Yeah, so please call our office. We're at 402-451-2500. Or please reach out to me personally on email. I'm just at Cyrus, Cyrus, at teamcyrus.com.
We'll have a graphic on the screen for that,
Yeah.
and so that will be easy for you to reach. I'm Paul Madsen, paul@growmedia.com, and you can reach me if you're interested in being on the show or want a free review of your resume, 100% free. I'll look it over, say this is what I would do with your resume. Happy to do that, get kind of busy with that, but still it's a great way for me to make new friends out there.
Cool.
So that's all for now. Cyrus, you've been a great
right.
guest. Thanks
Yeah,
for having me into
appreciate you
your
having me.
lovely agency here.
Thank you.
And until next week, keep on thinking about what you can do next and how you can act and where you can go as your own person right here see you next week on That Career Dilemma Show. Thanks again, Cyrus.
Yeah, you got it. Thank you.